Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett joins us now. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. What is the latest, do you think, on the hostages? And these numbers are fluctuating from time to time. That's to be expected. But I know that the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has said there's not going to be a ceasefire unless more hostages come out. Do you think we could see that in the coming days?
I don't know. It's tough. We have to apply tremendous pressure on Hamas. They're holding 240 hostages, including young babies. For example, Kfir Bibas is 6 months old, or Avigail Idan, who lost her mom and dad, who were murdered by Hamas, and her two brothers were hiding in a cupboard. She's there alone. Imagine a young girl alone after knowing her parents are dead. And so we have to do everything and increase the pressure in order to get Hamas to release these hostages.
And you're in the U.S. right now meeting with members of Congress. What are you planning to tell them? What are you talking about? And what about some of the pressure that is starting to make itself very apparent in the U.S. domestic political scene, where you have Democrats, obviously a significant number of Democrats in Congress, who are concerned about the humanitarian toll in Gaza right now?
I understand that, but we're going to have to follow this through. We don't have any choice. We really don't have a choice. The situation is fairly straightforward. We have a next-door neighbor who just sent 3,000 murderers to kill our children, to rape our daughters, is holding hostage 240 of them. It's clear that we cannot live with this Nazi-type state on our border. So we have no choice but to eliminate it. And we're going to have to eliminate Hamas, and it'll take time. And I understand the domestic pressures all across the world, but really you do just the same thing if that were the case. We just have to do it.
And what do you make of the Biden administration calling for a humanitarian pause? It's not going as far as what many Arab leaders would like to see. They've been calling for a ceasefire. There have been lots of calls internationally for a ceasefire. The Biden administration is not going that far. President Biden has really been standing shoulder to shoulder with the Israelis throughout all of this. Why not give the Biden administration a humanitarian pause to relieve some of that domestic political pressure?
Because what that pause is we seize and they fire. I have a lot of experience with Hamas. I've been fighting them as a soldier and was in the security cabinet, prime minister, you name it. When we seize, they build up and fire at our people. We can't. We have to eliminate Hamas. We have to follow through. We can't just stop again and again. Because each time they rebuild and that just lengthens the whole process. This is going to be a very painful process. It's not easy. We're losing boys and girls in battle. I'm losing some of my own friends and my friends' children. It's horrible. But when you have a Al-Qaeda-like state on your border, we just have to clean it up and make sure this can never, ever happen again. That's the fundamental duty of a state to its citizens.
And the IDF has said repeatedly they're not targeting civilians in Gaza, that they're taking every step that they can to avoid civilian casualties, and yet civilians are getting hit. Over the weekend, as you know, a UN school was struck where refugees were taking shelter. There were civilian casualties there. Do you agree with the Israeli government's approach here to continue with these bombardments, with these very devastating strikes on targets inside of Gaza where civilians are being killed?
Well, that's an inevitable consequence of war. We're not targeting civilians. We're targeting Hamas. But you are right that civilians are dying. That's because Hamas hides behind the civilians. It places its rockets, shooting rockets at my children, behind its own children. So I do just what you would do and what any other country would do. What America did to Germany and Japan. We have to eradicate this regime. Only when Hamas gets out will all this suffering stop. Suffering for us and for the Palestinians. There's no other way, and there's no quick or simple answer here. It's going to be tough, tough for everyone. That's why we need the backing to follow this through. Otherwise, it's going to go on forever.
And as you know, the opposition to what your country is doing in Gaza right now is building. There was a pro-Palestinian rally in Washington and London and other parts around the world. It got quite heated outside the White House yesterday. I'm sure you saw some of that footage. Obviously, those kinds of things are going to continue to happen here in the United States and around the world. Amnesty International has said that Israel has waged a, quote, campaign of violations of international law. What do you make of the stepped-up international criticism of what Israel is doing?
So these pro-Hamas rallies, are they pro-raping girls? Are they pro-severing arms of an 8-year-old boy until he dies? Are they pro-kidnapping 84-year-old women and babies? Is that what this, movement of pro-Palestinian is about? Is it pro-killing gays, pro-putting women, not allowing them to go out and work, against free press? What is it pro? I don't really understand this. I think it's either flat anti-Semites or people who are ignorant, who just don't know what they're out there demonstrating for. They're demonstrating for a Nazi-like regime, and I'm sure one day they'll be very sorry about that.
What does it look like when Israel achieves its military objective in Gaza? What does that look like?
We have 240 hostages released, and we have either killed all Hamas operatives and terrorists or expelled them from Gaza.
And at some point, do you think, this military campaign has to shift in terms of tactics away from these devastating airstrikes on targets in Gaza to perhaps a more surgical approach on the ground? Does that need to take place? It sounds as though, from what we are hearing, the American government has been urging that behind the scenes with Israeli officials. Do you think at some point it's going to switch to that kind of an operation?
We're bending over backwards to prevent or minimize the number of casualties. But when you have an enemy who's hell-bent on killing its own people in order to kill Jews, it's very difficult. We know as a fact that they've been shooting and bombing humanitarian corridors as to prevent their own citizens from moving away. The only way to stop all this death is to eliminate Hamas, and then it'll all go away. Again, just like the Nazi regime, there was no way to surgically do away with the Nazis and the Japanese. You have to defeat them, unconditional surrender, and only then all the carnage stops.
All right, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, thank you very much, sir, for your time. We appreciate it.